Chain Drug Review, and Mass Market Retailers Video Forum. Brought to you by the Emerson Group.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Wolt, Editor-in-Chief of Chain Drug Review and Mass Market Retailers. Welcome to our video forum. Today, we're thrilled to have as our guest Brian Nightengale, who is now President of the Health Solutions Division at Inmar Intelligence. Brian, great to see you.
Hey, Jeff, great to see you too. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Let me start out by just asking you this. Most of us got to know you well as a key executive at Cencora, formerly AmerisourceBergen. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how they experienced there and also your previous experiences prepared you for the role you're taking on now.
I had a wonderful 28-year journey and career at AmerisourceBergen, now Cencora. And quite honestly, as I looked at this opportunity with Inmar, the match of the experience that I had, I feel met the needs quite well, matched up really well, which made me really excited about the opportunity. So early in my career, the first 10 years or so of my career, I spent quite a bit of time working in pharmacies, independent pharmacies, spent some time in hospital pharmacies and elsewhere, even in some chain pharmacies. So I had that early on experience of kind of in the trenches in the pharmacy space. And certainly a lot has changed since then, but I haven't forgotten really what it's like to be on the front lines in the pharmacy. So that's number one. Then I spent really the next 20 years working directly with pharmaceutical manufacturers. So that kind of gave me the understanding and awareness of how to bring drugs to market, basically market access strategies, what decisions manufacturers would make in terms of patient access to their products and services. So, doing research and providing consulting to manufacturers gave me that perspective in terms of how they think about the pharmaceutical supply chain all the way down to the patient and the consumer. And then moving into my role at AmerisourceBergen and Cencora with Good Neighbor Pharmacy, that really gave me an in-depth knowledge of pharmacy operations, reimbursement, and consumer marketing. That was a lot of what Good Neighbor Pharmacy was about, was empowering independent pharmacies to execute and optimize their business. So that deep knowledge really gave me an understanding of the business aspects of pharmacy. Also, of course, learning about the wholesale distribution business and forward supply chain, really gave me that experience. And so when I look at what Inmar does today, it touches all those places, right? It touches the pharmacies and the providers, the health systems. It touches the wholesalers, and it certainly touches the manufacturers. We are at the center of that supply chain, both from a physical product standpoint and a data and insight standpoint. So to me, it was a natural fit.
Inmar is focused on data-driven solutions. Maybe you could talk about how the services you provide help improve operational efficiency and also, and perhaps most importantly, improve patient care.
Within healthcare, which is what I lead, we've got really 4 product lines, service areas that we categorize. We have a lot of things and solutions that we do, but they really sum up to supply chain services, which is reverse logistics, recall management, consumer drug take-back. So that's physical handling of the reverse logistics of pharmaceutical products. So that has a very clear impact on both efficiency throughout the supply chain and getting, and having the safe removal of expired and unneeded drugs throughout that supply chain, getting it back in an efficient manner. And we do that every day quite well. That also, of course, ties directly into patient safety and safety of the community and the environment. So, when we can properly dispose of unwanted medications out in the supply chain, that, of course, is going to reduce unwanted use of those medications from a patient safety standpoint. Think about the medicine cabinets and such. And then certainly we don't want these medications flushed down the toilet or into our water system. So there's a safety issue there as well. Our other service lines, revenue cycle management, again, that gets into the efficiency of the business operations of our customers. So making sure they've got accurate and timely payments, that the payments that they've submitted actually is what gets paid. Audit readiness, efficient benchmarking and reporting. All of this that we provide to them saves them time and increases the speed of their revenue cycle, which helps them run their businesses better. So that's a big part of our business. And then also, of course, healthcare intelligence, using the data and informatics that we have to help our customers make better decisions from both an operational perspective and a strategic perspective as well. And then finally, and this is a big part of our business as well, is what we call compliance solutions, right? And so this involves DSCSA and USP 800, helping our customers maintain and be compliant at a very high level with federal and state regulations regarding the supply chain. So, we do a lot behind the scenes to help our customers be more efficient and more profitable.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the Drug Supply Chain Security Act. How do you assess the implementation so far, and what specifically are you doing to help your clients cope with the new regulations?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a lot of different opinions on the industry's readiness for that, depending on who you talk to. But I think for the most part, most of the manufacturers are ready. There are instances, especially in the generic space, where there's got to be some additional work done there. The wholesalers are ready. We're ready. And then I think the key issue now is readiness of the downstream customers, right? And are the pharmacies, are the hospitals and health systems ready to do their part to be compliant with those? And that's really where our solutions come into play, is really helping our downstream customers ensure that they understand what's required of them, and that we give them the tools and the information and the toolkit to be able to be compliant. So that's interoperability. We help our clients meet those compliance issues, especially in terms of supplier and product verification. And then another component that I don't think a lot of people think of is decommissioning, right? And how can we help once a product is out of the supply chain, right? And those serial codes are no longer needed. How do we decommission those codes and make sure they don't get in the hands of counterfeiters and then really contaminate the entire process there? So we work with our upstream manufacturers on that component, and then we really have technology and solutions with our downstream pharmacy customers to make sure that they're tracking every step of the process with those products, that those products coming in are valid and they're verified, and that they follow through with the process as required by law.
You said some parts of the industry still have a lot of work to do in implementing the requirements of the Supply Chain Security Act. We've had a 10-year window. Don't you think people should be ready to go today?
That's certainly what the federal government believes, is that we have a 10-year window, and yes, everybody should be ready. The reason why, at least from my view, the reason why the 1-year delay in enforcement, again, it was not a 1-year delay in enactment, it was a 1-year delay in enforcement, was not to disrupt the supply chain. There was enough evidence out there to say that, hey, there's enough of the supply chain that's not ready, that if we were to hold true on enforcement, that there'd be significant consumer and patient access impact. And so this extra year was given to be able to do more testing of data transfers back and forth, and to ensure, again, that the downstream customers were ready. At the same time, to allow that handful of manufacturers to wrap up and finally get their compliance together. So, again, in my view, I think this year hopefully has given the system enough time to be able to say, yeah, we're ready. Although, there is buzz going around that there may be a request for further delay. So I don't know where that'll head, but we're getting up to the time frame right now where if you're not ready now, you're probably not going to be ready in November.
Earlier on, you also mentioned USP 800, which, as I understand it, is designed to reduce risks around hazardous or potentially hazardous medications. How are retail pharmacies coping with those reporting and other requirements?
I think they're coping quite well, especially when they engage solutions, right? So again, this gets back to a similar situation with track and trace and serialization. If you've got the systems in place and the data to understand what product you have that falls within that USP risk category, and the volume of that data dictates kind of the level of risk that you have. We provide those solutions as well. When we couple out our USB 800 solutions with our RX Transparent DSCSA solution, they have all the information at their fingertips. And when you have that information at your fingertips, ensuring that safety, putting those policies and procedures and SOPs in place and training on those makes you ready and compliant. And so, again, I think if they've taken it seriously and they've invested in the training and the tools to do that, then they should be in good shape.
Mm-hmm. And how difficult are these programs like the two we just talked about in terms of independent pharmacy? Would independents be able to cope with these if it weren't for a company like Inmar or perhaps, Cencora or McKesson, whoever?
Without those support systems, it would be very difficult, right? They would be trying to do this on their own in the old-fashioned way, inventory and paper management and all of that. And what we bring to the table is scale and technology. And so, when we're able to do that across thousands and thousands of customers, we can bring the price point down. Mm-hmm. So quite honestly, these solutions are very affordable for independent pharmacies so that they don't have to do it themselves. And it really creates a lot of efficiencies within their workflow that allows them to do what they need to do, which is care for patients. So I think that's where scale and expertise comes into play, and very proud that we're able to do that for our customers.
Mm-hmm. Recently, we also saw United Healthcare's computer system be hacked. It caused chaos for pharmacies and I guess throughout the healthcare system. What's Inmar's approach to cybersecurity, and how are you advising your clients to meet this challenge?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that has any amount of data, protecting against cyber attacks and resiliency is a full-time job, right? It takes one hacker. They can try 100,000 times. They just got to be successful once. Mm-hmm. We have to be successful 100,000 times. And so the investment that we're making in our cybersecurity, in our data security platform is very, very high. We make very significant investments there. So, first, of course, is making sure you've got up-to-date, technology platforms and you're using the best-in-class, tools to do that, which we do. But, I think everybody knows this. The most successful, hacks are usually created through a conduit that an associate allows, right? By clicking the wrong link or sending the wrong email or something like that. And so, one of the things that we do here is constant testing and constant training. I mean, there's not a week that goes by that I don't get an email or some kind of a link that I'm supposed to question whether I need to click on it or not. And I can tell you, I bat about 80%, and I'm pretty good at this stuff. But I'll get a oops, you failed, you shouldn't have done that. And then I automatically have to go to remedial training, online training. So I think those are great best practices because it keeps you on your toes. It's not a quarterly type of a thing. It's not an annual type of thing. It's a weekly thing where all of our entire associate team has to be thinking, is this one of those, one of those emails or one of those links that I should be responding to? So we keep it top of mind, and that's what I would recommend really to anybody. Is this has to be top of mind for every single person in the company every single day, and it's only going to happen if you're having constant reminders out there and everybody's day to day. We're super busy, and we're going through emails really quickly. It's important that it stays top of mind, and I think the type of process that we have here is a really good best practice.
Mm-hmm. You were recently chairman of NACDS when you were still with Cencora. What role do associations like that have to play in this whole cybersecurity arena? I
think trade associations and professional associations alike have a very important role of creating a common voice for awareness, a common voice for advocacy, and a common voice for what I would say common sense regulations and laws, right? So there's the need for, again, a common voice, because if not, we may have 15 or 20 or 30 different things that we have to follow by various states or different jurisdictions that really create inefficiency in the supply chain and in healthcare in general. So, in NACDS, for example, creating that understanding and that education of the market, of the value that chain pharmacies provide, is critical, right? And having that common voice is also important. And then having, again, the expertise and the resources to really make a difference through that advocacy, I think are some of the most important benefits of the association.
Inmar, as you noted, is expert at developing insights about the industry. And you also have spent a lot of time thinking about the economics of pharmacy and healthcare. How big a threat are the current payment models for pharmacy? I'm thinking, of course, of DIR, I guess, first and foremost, but where is retail pharmacy in terms of its economic health right now?
I think it's still incredibly challenged, right? So DIR to me is one example, one big example of a greater disease that's impacting retail pharmacy. We took one step forward really this January in terms of bringing eliminating the clawbacks of DIR and creating transparency there. That doesn't mean the reimbursement got better. It just means you understand at point of sale how bad it is, right? Yeah. And so, at least now you know what the problem is, and you can start to work through how to address it. But quite honestly, until we see reimbursement rates improve and not just stop, right? The race to the bottom is here. I think there's question or whether they'll go any lower. I don't think they can, but they need to go up and they need to improve. And so how do we do that? It's through different reimbursement models, more transparency, and again, value-based care models is a way to do that. If you look at if I'm a pharmacy, I have to look at DIR fee or not. Like I have to look at different ways to create revenue and to create profitability so that I can stay open and care for my patients and consumers. So that might be outside of the traditional dispense, right? We continue to fight for appropriate reimbursement models there. NADAC plus, cost plus models, I think, are a great positive sign that there are pockets of that are showing signs of optimism, if you will. So I think that's good. But then also, how else can we decouple our revenue sources from that product and do more for the community? So value-based care models is that expanding scope of practice that we've been talking about for years is important to do that. Interoperability between kind of the medical side of the benefit and the pharmacy side of the benefit is clear to that in the data flow so that all stakeholders that surround that patient care can talk to each other. And when you do that, then you can start to sign up for value-based care models. And then scalability, I think, is key. Where we're seeing successful value-based care models that incorporate pharmacies and pharmaceutical care, it's either in pilots, right? It's in pilots in small areas, or it is in a geographically focused area. Healthcare is local, right? So you find, a network of pharmacies and a supportive payer in a region, and they're able to create some really valuable programs, and they're able to measure the impact of those. We've seen a lot of success there. The question becomes, how do you take that national and make it scalable? And I think that's where we still see some challenges.
Clearly, pharmacy operators see this as a compelling priority. Do the payers also see it that way?
I think they do. Again, it's in pockets, right? I mean, you're going to see, I think where you're going to see the most value-based care models is where you see vertical integration, right? Because they have the whole data of the whole patient. Mm-hmm. And so they're able to really test things out and execute on them and measure it holistically. But again, is that scalable everywhere? It depends. I think what is important is, and PQA is doing some of this work as well, is let's agree on some pharmacy specific measures that can be tied to the pharmacy and tied to the care that's being provided, and then let's create the interoperability between those pharmacy measures, pharmacy specific measures, and tie those to the payer measures and the provider measures downstream. And when you can do that, you can create aligned incentives. Right now, a lot of the measures, again going back to DIR, that indicate what a DIR fee might be, are really health plan related measures that the pharmacy can influence. And so, again, I think the more pharmacy specific measures that the industry can agree on, that gives the payers, some level of confidence into the data that they're getting, and that they can attribute outcomes to that activity and that measure. I think once we get there, you're going to see payers adopt it a lot more.
It's a great story, and one that we will follow. And please keep us in the loop as Inmar generates further insights on that.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Great to talk to you.